Like,
I had to have sex with a prostitute to become human, and now I love men. And it's a disaster.
Quentin here. I'm fine, babe.
This is Ethan. I'm gonna go. Don't worry, Devin's here. This is Todd. Let's rock and roll!
Welcome to the Power Up Brothers podcast. You might notice that something is different. We have Harrison here.
Harrison.
I got a haircut.
He did.
And Harrison is usually our lovely, lovely producer, but he is no longer producing. He was fired and made the lowest rung on this podcast, which is, of course, a host. Ty and Devin took ill, and they are dead. They are no longer with us. It's almost true. Ty took ill, and Devin had a date with an Italian, which is kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's not really.
He's basically sick.
Basically, what my dear brother Quentin here is trying to say to you, good podcast viewer, is civilization has collapsed here on the Power Up Brothers podcast.
Yeah, really.
We don't really have a plan. Yeah. I'm not even sure if we're going to talk about video games.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So
Harrison's really the immortal Joe of the after times here at the podcast.
So this is kind of, given the unusual circumstances, this is going to be a little more free form, a little less structured. We're just going to have a conversation. Devin, he in his wisping voice, he said, he was, and he's breathing with his mask, and he said, make sure you use the topic bag, right? Mm-hmm. And, because he's sick. And I said, we're not doing that. We're not touching the topic bag because those topics are too juicy. Wait a minute, maybe one of the topics, but we're not just going to do it at random. We might
Topic of the week.
We might do one of the topics. There's one that would be good for this panel.
But actually, we do have I feel like for the first time, now that none of all the talented, thoughtful hosts are gone.
He means dead weight.
Yes,
the dead weight.
All the people with the charisma are gone for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all have something to talk about, a game that we've been playing.
Oh
my God.
Because you got a game.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Right.
To talk about, I've got a game finally to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I still don't have a game.
But that was never an option.
Yeah, that was never an option. There was never a chance I was going to have a game.
Yeah,
but
actually have what you've been playing.
But because we don't have that yammering douchebag next to me, the one I typically have, there's no one to tell me to stop talking about something other than video games. So even though I haven't played any video games lately, I can take the opportunity to talk about things that make everybody happy, like politics.
Right. Yes.
Or race and religion.
Abortion.
That
everyone is really happy with that topic.
I can talk about, race riots.
Exactly.
Apartheid.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Donkey Kong. And Donkey Kong.
Donkey
Kong really ties all those topics together.
Yeah. Donkey Kong benefited from the apartheid state. And that's going to be my manifesto.
He threw Nelson Mandela into that jail.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Well, gentlemen, what you been playing?
All right, what you been playing? Harrison, kick us off.
Here. Well, I've been playing, surprisingly, I have been playing Final Fantasy.
Of course.
What?
Yes.
14?
Yeah, there's 14 of them.
You've been playing all
of
them?
More. There's actually 16.
You've been playing all 16 games?
I skipped the first 13. I'm working my way through 13
okay.
right now. Yeah.
Right, okay.
I've been playing that as usual,
right.
But I recently, Deltarune, Chapter 3 and 4 came out.
Sans Deltarune?
I finished Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4.
Right.
And it's good.
Uh-huh.
All right, Quinn, what have you been...
Did Toby Fox plagiarize as much in Deltarune as he did Undertale?
What did he plagiarize in Undertale?
His quote unquote inspiration, all of the music is sampled, so that's for starters. He spun all of that music out of samples. The full list of things that he sampled as quote unquote inspiration is, I mean, he's bordering on actual plagiarism. Also, a lot of his like sort of punches as far as story moments go that are really exciting to people, like spoilers for this 10-year-old game. But like Flowey sort of having a level of self-awareness. They did that in Paper Mario, that terrible third Paper Mario game, the ending of that. Those kinds of things where it's together all in one package feels very original, and then you sort of peel back the surface and you're like, it's a little bit less once you...
But you peel back the surface far enough and you get the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes, and everything. Yeah, that's
and
true.
everything. I had to explain to someone once that 50 Shades of Grey was just a book based on Twilight, a fan fiction of Twilight.
Right.
And Twilight was just a fan fiction of Harry Potter. And Harry Potter is just a fan fiction of Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And Star Wars is just a fan fiction of Flash Gordon. And The Lord of the Rings, of course, as you often like to remind us, is just a fan fiction of the Bible. Right?
Well, and I would say specifically Beowulf. It's quite a lot of similarities between it and Beowulf and the Edda and stories like that.
Right.
And Gilgamesh.
And Gilgamesh.
Yes.
It's all Gilgamesh all the way down.
That
Sans is basically Enkidu.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the
By
thing.
the gods to stop a monster.
This is the great thing about our little Power Up Brothers After Dark, because we can talk about how I wish that we would have a Gilgamesh game.
The Gilgamesh 2.
A Gilgamesh 2, if you will.
That's Final Fantasy 14.
Well, but it would be called Male Love Simulator.
Final Fantasy 14.
Specifically,
what have I been missing out on?
Specifically,
A lot of male love.
Wow.
Specifically, Balmung's Quicksand.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, I just think about that. I was trying to get somebody to read Gilgamesh, and I'm.
It sounds offensive when you say it that way.
Yeah.
Against their will, you were trying to get them to read.
Yeah, they were
Gilgamesh.
chained to the radiator, and I was like, the love between Enkidu and Gilgamesh is powerful, right? Look, read this verse about
You're looking at the
Enkidu.
camera.
Read this verse about Enkidu having sex with a prostitute so that he can become human, right? It's a really great passage.
We got to get Devin back on the pod, guys.
But no, I was trying to get them to read it.
Yeah, sure.
And they were like, sell it to me. And I was like, well, it's this exciting ancient story. And they were like, right. And it's got this bull from heaven. And it's, I was explaining all these interesting things. And they were like, so like, what's your kind of like favorite thing about it? And I was like, the male love, right? And immediately they just were like, nope. That was it. I had them.
You were talking to Memo?
No, I was not talking to my grandmother. I have talked to her like an inordinate amount of time about Gilgamesh.
And male love.
And male love. And where I've tried to explain this concept to her.
No, Memo. One of them is not the woman. They are both the man.
I keep saying, I keep telling her, it's not gay. This is a brotherhood bonded from heaven. You don't understand,
honey. That's gay.
She's like, that's gay. I'm like, I had to have sex with a prostitute to become human, and now I love men. And it's a disaster.
And then she said, "What does that have to do with Gilgamesh?"
Right, nothing, Grandma, nothing. But the point is, I had that person sold on Gilgamesh, and then the second I told them that the crux of that story was male on male love, they were out. And basically what I'm trying to say is that Gilgamesh is sort of the barometer for homophobia, because Gilgamesh is so obviously cool, right? Mm-hmm. That if you tell somebody every other aspect of Gilgamesh, they'll be into it. If you tell them the male love part, if they're not homophobic, they'll be more into it. If they are homophobic, they'll be turned off from it.
Right.
This is a video game.
We were
podcast.
talking about Deltarune, I think.
We were talking about Deltarune.
I think that's what we were talking about.
Let's get it back to Deltarune. It's good.
It's good. I don't know if Toby Fox has plagiarized anything.
Okay.
There is a tweet from like 2013, which was like, or 2014, which was like around the time he came up with the idea for Deltarune, where he was like, someone is releasing a game very similar to an idea I have. And I think he was referencing Omori, which is a video game that other people have played.
I've heard very good things about it.
Same.
Yeah, I haven't
literally know
played
nothing.
it. I haven't played a game since 1997.
Right.
1 year
Since they let
before
you
I was
out
born.
of the cryo-frozen tube.
Yeah. Yes.
But like, man, chapter 3 and 4, like when chapter 1 came out, it felt like a demo. Like it felt like a demo for Undertale. And then chapter 2 came out, and chapter 2 felt like a little bit more of like an actual video game. Like it felt like, oh, this has something to it. The first one is just like an epilogue, or not an epilogue, prologue, the other one.
Yeah.
It just felt like, it's introducing you to these characters, this world, but there's not a lot there. Chapter 2, it's like fleshing out things a little more. Chapter 3 is like, it has nothing to do with like the story at all. It's just like, it's basically just like, it focuses on gameplay more than anything.
Okay.
And it's actually like, it's pretty good.
Because the gameplay's a lot better in Deltarune.
Yes.
Than it was in Undertale.
Yeah. But the whole, I mean, like, this is pretty, like, this isn't really a spoiler, but like the whole theme of chapter 3 is like you're on a TV show.
Okay.
So there's like all sorts of like mini games that are like, associated with that.
Have you ever related to Undertale since Toby Fox? Are you a fan of Homestuck? Have you read Homestuck?
No, people have been drawing a lot of parallels between Deltarune and Homestuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, Toby Fox, in terms of just sort of style, energy, those kinds of things, there's a lot of parallels. Yeah. But also what I find interesting is that with Undertale and Deltarune, they sort of, they play with the genre in interesting ways and very creative ways in terms of both presentation and gameplay. And Homestuck is interesting because while it has the same similar feel, it's a comic. It's like a web comic, but it has game elements and music and things like that. It's all this sort of umbrella, that reminds me of being on Tumblr, but like early Tumblr.
It does have like there is a lot of like I don't know how to describe it, but like a Tumblr feel to it.
Yeah, right. I'm wondering, is there a word? Is there a word for that?
I don't know.
Because
since society has collapsed and we can talk about non-video game things.
Oh, yeah, there used to be a word for it. It was just Tumblr.
Yes. Like Tumblr as an adjective.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Tumblr as an adjective. What I hate though is that became like a 4-letter dirty word. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually feel like it kind of
saying 4-letter.
I can't talk.
It gets caught up in the same conversation about Undertale and Deltarune is the shows that VivziePop has worked on in the last few years, Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. And I've watched both of them. And while I think they're both good, Has Been Hotel is like kind of more of that like Tumblr.
Yeah.
And Hell of a Boss is a little more like it's got more of an edge to it and it's got a little more creativity to it. It feels more original.
Right.
Yeah.
And the odd thing is Hell of a Boss is the YouTube show and Has Been Hotel is the Amazon produced show.
Right.
And it has more of that stuff like you're talking about that like the Undertale and Deltarune had where there's like a little bit of that like Tumblr is gonna love this kind of feel.
Yeah. Well, here's a question though about it. So Undertale has a super just sort of story presentation magic that feels very, very, very unique. Has Undertale or has Deltarune in the new chapters, now that you have them, does it still have that magic?
So that's kind of I sent a review to you all. I wrote out like a review for it, and that was like the first 2 chapters didn't really have that like sauce that Undertale does. Chapter 3 is really good. It's not really
the one
like
without story.
It doesn't really have a story, but like one of the things that like I really liked about Undertale was like the Easter eggs. And chapter 3 has a lot of like Easter eggs. And a lot of like, there's like a secret path you can go down that's like really eerie and I like that about Undertale with like the genocide route.
Yeah, right.
The villain of chapter 3 is like where most of the writing is, and I love the villain of chapter 3. He's like my favorite character in anything ever. This may just be recency bias though. People have actually you brought up you brought up the Vivzy shows. People have been making jokes comparing the villain of chapter 3 to characters from those shows, and they're saying like flirting versus sexual harassment.
See, well,
everyone loves Mr. Tenna is his name.
Well, this is the thing though, is that the fact that like Tumblr as an adjective still holds, because of course, you know, when we think of these Vivzy shows, we think about Homestuck, we think about Toby Fox's work. Yeah. It's almost indescribable what Tumblr as an adjective is.
Very hard.
Sometimes
you know
it's
it when
like
you
an
see
insult.
it, but you can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to define.
Most of the time it's an insult, but like sometimes in like the case of Undertale, it's like this is good, but it just feels like something that belongs
you know,
there.
my point is that I used Tumblr in the very early on. I was very young when I started using it. And like, you know, the sort of contrast of using 4chan and Tumblr, this is obviously pre-Trump 4chan, so it wasn't quite as this is
it was more
very
like
different.
Wild West.
Well, you know, this is after dark, right? this is
I'm the one editing it, so
perfect. So we'll just pick up from here. Oh, you're editing? I can just make you do more work?
Yeah.
You know, but pre Donald Trump, 4chan was a much better place to be, and pre banning pornography, Tumblr was also a much better place to be. You know,
so because it's after dark, we can also talk about this. There's this a French institute did this study about the kind of like extreme like views and attitudes on the internet, to like dangerously extreme kind of stuff. And the one that they were looking at was anorexia. There was all these like guides, and like people would like coach each other on how to like make yourself throw up, and like all this like dangerous habits
horrible.
Of like all these girls trying to live up to like impossible like thin beauty standards. And so the French government cracked down on them, and they like took these forms, Facebook did, and they made them illegal. They like banned them on the site. You get kicked off the site if you catch it. And so what happened was they all just started using code words for everything, and they all went to different areas. And the way the studiers came up with this idea is it's like a tube of toothpaste, and when you squeeze it, it all just goes to one end or the other, but it doesn't decrease. Right? Like if the cap's on it, you squeeze it, it just pushes everything to one end or the other. And websites that have managed to like stay positive haven't tried to get rid of these things. They've just made a section for them. They firewalled them off and quarantined them. So like Tumblr had that like quarantine. There was the not safe for work side, and like it worked because it kept the not safe for work stuff filtered over there, and you can go find it if you want it. Twitter did the same thing. They had not safe for work artists who worked out of Twitter all the time. The only requirement was they had to tag them. Every attempt to like ban these things just makes them become more intense on the edges, and it kind of ruins the platforms because it bleeds everywhere then.
Well, again, my whole point ultimately is that when I say that Toby Fox feels very Tumblr, feel like that's going to be taken as some kind of an insult. Yeah. And I'm trying to establish a level of familiarity with this, that there is a specific feel that I can't quite put my finger on, but that it just sort of works that way. But like you say, the first two chapters don't quite have the sauce.
Yeah, but chapter 3 and 4 do. Chapter 3, like I said, it's got some of that, like, there's a lot of like Easter eggs. There's a lot of secrets. The villain, he's just
perfect.
He's a silly little guy who
Toby Fox's best work is always silly little guys.
Yes. Yeah. The chapter 4 is like like one of the things that made Undertale so good was that like it had its eerie moments, it had its lighthearted, funny moments. It also had its very like emotional moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get to the end of Undertale and you're going through the city again, but it's gray, and then the song Undertale starts playing. It's such a good moment. And then you're running into enemies and they're explaining the story to you. Fantastic.
Good stuff.
Moment.
Yeah.
In that is chapter 4 in its entirety. I want to play the game on the channel with you and producer Michael B at some point. We're working on it.
I thought producer Michael B was dead since we haven't seen him in approximately 7 years.
We will lay his corpse on the couch and he will.
Well, weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
We'll get him out of his tomb.
I'll put on a fake nose.
There we go. Yeah.
The one thing I'll spoil for chapter 4 is if you remember in Undertale, there is a song called It's Raining Somewhere.
Yes. Yep.
In chapter 4, there is a moment where a song plays and it's called The Place Where It Rained.
Very nice.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Which,
That's
I mean, the
nice.
music in Deltarune has been phenomenal.
The first two chapters had good music.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 has a couple good songs. Chapter 4 is
got a lot of good music.
it's so good.
Okay.
Toby Fox cooked.
Yeah.
That's
good.
what I've been playing though.
I'm sure it's plagiarized. All right. Ethan, what have you been playing?
So, I have been playing.
If you say Enshrouded, I'm going to leap across.
No, not Enshrouded this time. I have been playing more Dune Awakening.
Dune Awakening. Give us an
I
update
have
on the
more
sand.
thoughts.
Have you
You've been
encountered
Duning your
different colored
Awakened?
sands?
I have encountered more colored sands.
Tell me about the sand. I don't care about the rest of the game. I just want to know, what about sand?
It really
Sand Undertale.
It's
Sand
so
Undertale.
bizarre because it really feels like the team went the extra mile trying to like make this a like really intense passion project. Like they really wanted it to be something that like has that like secret sauce, right? They really wanted it to cook with this, right?
Right.
And now I'm a little further into the game and I have more than just like the beta understanding of it. Now I've actually gotten into the game and seen like the loop. And it is like a very vexing game because it is so close to being great, but it often winds up being like a mixed bag of good and bland. But the parts about it that are even like the bland parts, they are like the one notch on the dial where one is bland and the next one is phenomenal, right? It's like you can tell that like they almost got it. They almost got it exactly right. It will probably be patched into a phenomenal video game at some point. Like a phenomenal video game. Because it has all the parts to make a great game.
I
Like
would
a
really love
great one.
if we didn't live in a world where that was sort of the norm for good games. Is like, yeah, this will be really good when it's
Eventually.
done.
I think
Like, man, this Deltarune is going to be so good in 5 years when the game's actually out.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's almost like we went through this time. So we have like the 2D era that goes into the 3D era. And basically people just, when you make a game, it's just good or bad. And then when we get into the like full 3D era, like we're starting to get like more powerful video games that are starting to look a little more realistic. What winds up happening is people make games that sit right at the cusp of good. It's like Lord of the Rings Conquest. It's almost there. It was like 3 patches away from being a really good game. But it got none. And so it's like now what happens is games are getting closer. This game actually has some restraint. Like they don't try to make the graphics like bonkers good. They're not trying to make like everything photorealistic. They do understand that like some things need to look good and some things, you know, you gotta budget yourself. They have a lot of good discipline. It's just that like it's very ambitious in so many ways. And some of the smaller details have fallen through. Because like jokingly, you talk about like the sand, right? Because
I'm very serious about the sand. Okay,
but here's the thing: when I got into the next area, like the red desert where the iron is at, geographically, they are pulling from different kinds of deserts on Earth, right? It looks different, a lot different, and it feels different. It's much more like rocky, and the rocks that you are going through have like way more valleys. So enemies suddenly are like up above you, coming out of caves at you, instead of like attacking you as you're like crossing a desert. The worms become more difficult to deal with because there's quicksand and drum sand, and passages are small but dangerous. So instead of these long times when you're riding, which have been some of the best parts of the game, is like you're going across a desert dune and suddenly the music will change and this sandworm that's like 1,000 feet tall will burst out of the ground and start chasing you. These are really phenomenal. They change in that part to being like, you're crossing these little narrow gaps and the worms are faster and there's less space for them to be in. So they're often closer. And there's sand that's like quicksand and drum sand that slows you down or alerts the worms faster. And these short crossings become really pulse pounding. They went out of their way to take a planet that is nothing but sand and try to make it visually interesting. And they cooked. It's good. It's a good game to look at. Like the next area is this zone. I've seen it. It's a zone where there is all these crash ships and there's this like radiation everywhere. So it's like really colorful. And it's like they're going above and beyond. They have like the personal shields. Like when you use them in the deep desert, it vibrates and draws the worms to you. So when you're fighting in the deep desert, no one's wearing shields. But when you're fighting like in an Harkonnen base, you just can turn your shield on and bounce bullets off. It's a really cool idea. They just kind of put all these really good ideas together, and they didn't figure out how they were all going to stick together. So like shields and the abilities like the soldier gets don't quite make sense with the like sword master skills, because when no one's wearing a shield, you just shoot them in the face. And all the tough enemies have shields. So why would I put points into a skill tree that's for dealing with the weak enemies? Right. What's the point of dealing with the weak, of building a skill tree for dealing with weak enemies? They're weak. I don't need a skill tree to deal with them. And it's like they came really, really, really close to all of these things are super fun and really interesting. It's just they don't all quite stick together yet. It reminds me a little bit of like how when Valheim started, it was really minimal, and you could tell like, oh, this is going to be a phenomenal game. But the thing that made it really work was all the little parts fit together. Yeah. And this reminds me of that. I look at it and I go like, this is going to be a really, really good game at some point. Right now, it's fun for the most part. I really enjoy it. Like it's a very fun game, but it's starting to become clear that like it didn't bake long enough. You know, I definitely want to wait until the game has more patches because, of course, you know, I've explained my experience with Dune. I think the first Dune book is very good. I've not read any other Dune books, so I have no idea. They could be good. I don't know. But the first Dune book is really nice. No, they're not. They're probably not. But the first Dune book is good. And then I find David Lynch's Dune, the film, David Lynch's Dune, to be mostly boring. There's some moments that are very interesting in that. You know, like the milking the cat is really interesting. Patrick Stewart with his pug is really interesting. There's some things about it. Oh, the scene where Baron Harkonnen is spinning. Around, yeah, he's just flying around. There's some fun moments in that, and there's some pretty good music. But it's overall a boring movie with weird acting or actor choices. And then, of course, Denis Villeneuve, that guy who made... Yeah. So the point is that Denis Villeneuve, he made the boringest. He doesn't even have cats getting milked. There are no cats that get milked. No cats get milked.
That's one complaint I have for Dune. No cats getting milked.
It's incredibly boring. Zendaya is in it. Timothée Chalamet is in it.
They are.
It's
Aquaman is in it.
Right, Aquaman is in it, and so is Thanos.
Oscar Isaac is in it, though.
Oscar Isaac is in it. I remember there's this scene.
He's naked in it, too.
Yeah, I remember that scene. We were in the theater, and
just hanging out.
And that was nice. There's it like smash cuts to him, like he's kind of like this. Yeah, he's kind of like laying paralyzed, like this, right? Yeah. He's kind of like paralyzed, and he's in this seat, and he's naked, right? Yeah. And that scene came on in the theater, and I laughed like a madman. Like I laughed, I was cackling. I was laughing so hard. And what was so awful
This is
about
why
that,
you deserve to see the Sonic movie.
this is why well, what was so awful about that whole situation is that I was sitting next to your dad, right? Do you remember this?
I don't think my parents didn't watch it.
Oh no, that was a different movie that I was sitting. No. Do you remember I was watching a movie with your dad? We went to the theater together. It wasn't Dune. No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, the only reason that it was because you remember there was that naked guy in the movie, right?
I don't rember the movie.
And the funny thing is that I had forgotten about this, and the last time I saw your dad, he brought it up to me. He was like, you remember that time, right? And he was like, you remember this time that we were in the theater together and this naked guy came on screen and you cackled so hard at a scene, but I don't remember what movie it is.
I don't remember.
But that very thing happened in Dune as well, where Oscar Isaac, I laughed so hard.
You were sitting next to someone else's dad.
I was sitting next to somebody else's dad and just cackling. And, you're right that I deserve the Sonic movies because I really ruin the movie theater experience for everyone because so many things make me laugh, right? Like shy of Schindler's List, I will cackle at things that I find funny in movies. And but the point is that those movies are boring otherwise. Sure, there was one moment that made me laugh really loud. Nah, there's two moments that made me laugh really loud. Okay. There was also the one where the Skarsgård guys in the mud bath, right? Mm-hmm. That also made me laugh really hard. He comes up and he's covered in oil, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that they were boring. I can't express it enough. They were boring, both of them, and I couldn't stand them. I watched one of them, and I was dragged back to a second showing, and I put headphones on, and I listened to a book because people brought me there. And I didn't have agency at the time, right? They would put me in cars and take me places, right?
You were 23.
I was 23 years old. Yeah. And so
just a wee lad of 23.
A wee lad of 23.
Right. And, if you let them patch Dune enough, maybe.
But this is the thing.
A car.
What if this Dune game is not boring?
What if there's cat milking?
What if you can milk a cat? Right?
I actually,
what if Zendaya is not in it?
Zendaya isn't in it.
That's great.
And I actually wouldn't be surprised if there was cat milking in the game. It does have a lot of references to the book, the new movie, and David Lynch's movie. It kind of references off.
Yeah, so
the David Lynch worms are in the game as well.
Had no idea. Yeah. So my point is that I just think it would be cool if there was a Dune adaptation that I actually liked. That would be really cool. So I'm going to give it a chance in 7 to 8 years once it's done.
In 30 years when it becomes old game.
Once it becomes old game, I will play
it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So okay.
Now I have a little more thoughts about it. That's now that I've gotten to play it a little more.
Right.
That's my current thoughts about it. I'm enjoying it. I'm still playing it. I'll probably still keep playing it for a little bit.
Right.
Kind of see how much further it goes.
Maybe give it a little time to breathe.
Yeah, it needs a little time to cook. I'm kind of trying to decide whether or not I want to do the same thing of let it cook for a little bit.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Figure it out. But yeah.
Cool.
So I have not been playing anything really, but I have.
You have played one game.
I've played one game.
We were just playing it 5 minutes ago.
I played Mario Kart Super Truck, right? World?
Is that the name? I actually forgot.
I thought that it was Mario Kart Super Truck, so clearly you're probably right when you said that it was not that, because there's no way they named it what I thought it was named.
I feel like my next sentence is going to kind of authenticate itself as it was going along. So I was talking with someone who I play D&D with.
Mm-hmm.
I was hosting D&D for a friend of mine who normally DMs. He couldn't because he was sick, so I went and hosted a little one shot. And I was talking with one of the players, and they started talking about Mario Kart and about how they love the representation in Mario Kart of how great you got all these great characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they started talking about the gay icons of Mario Kart, obviously.
Waluigi.
And I said, Waluigi is the queer autism spectrum. character.
No.
And then we looked up all the costumes for Waluigi, and all of them
are on the
I said
autism
literally the costume there is leather daddy Waluigi, and right next to him is vampire Waluigi with cape. That's queer autism and the whole spectrum.
Yeah,
leather daddy being autism, vampire being queer.
Right,
yes.
of course.
And that's true.
Yeah.
And the person I was talking to, of course, they play D&D, so they are both
queer and autistic.
Because in Metal Gear Solid, we know that the one character, Vamp, is named Vamp not because he is a vampire,
but because he's bisexual.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
You know, I've been playing Mario Kart World Circuit, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. I don't care. I don't. You know, who cares?
Call it whatever.
Call it whatever. It's Mario Kart Super Truck.
It's Metal Gear Solid 2.
It's but the point is that I don't like that game, and I don't want to sit here and talk about it because I played it for the podcast, which Devin told me wasn't a podcast. Okay,
which the video will be coming out soon.
Yeah,
so
don't watch it.
Please watch it.
Don't do it.
Watch it, please.
Anyways, the point is,
money.
Yeah, right. Get on our Patreon that doesn't exist.
Right.
Power Up Club, blah, blah, right, podcast at patreon.com. I almost got that sentence out intelligibly.
There were some words in that.
There were some words in there. Yeah. But I don't want to talk about that. So instead, I'm going to talk about game. I'm going to talk about game. So the last mainline Metal Gear Solid game was The Phantom Pain, which was 2015, preceded by Ground Zeroes, which was late 2014, right? Okay, so it has been 10 years, thereabouts, since we had a Metal Gear Solid game. Now, we've had re-releases and things like that, and obviously we're getting Delta, which is a remake, but an original Metal Gear Solid, mainline Metal Gear Solid game, it's been 10 years, which is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And so I've had this on my mind that we will never eat the sweet nectar of Hideo Kojima's breast.
Suckle the cat milk.
We'll never suckle his proverbial cat milk as it concerns Metal Gear Solid.
We'll never feed on a tree frog ever again.
We will never indeed have this. The Mushmouth podcast is in full...
listen, it's like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, none of us are...
It's like 2 in the morning or something.
Yeah, so point is... I want to highlight a game that is called Metal Gear Solid. Okay? And the reason I want to highlight it is because this game, Metal Gear Solid, we all know that it has great music, that it's gay, that it has a fan base of people that like music and are gay. Right? There's lots of interesting things about Metal Gear Solid.
I'm aware that it is also game.
And Metal Gear Solid is game.
Yes.
Because let me here, I'll paint a little picture for you here.
You can if you want.
Metal Gear, game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Metal Gear 2, that's game, right?
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid, game. Metal Gear Solid 2, game. Metal Gear Solid 3, it's game. And then Metal Gear Solid 4, it's game. It makes me horny. And that's unrelated, but it's game.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5, there was all these people that at the time were like, ooh, this isn't game. This isn't game. This isn't game. They saw Quiet's souls, the feet souls, and then they said, it's game. Okay? Changed my mind.
I know most of them did.
We scanned in a human woman's feet and put them in a video game.
Kojima's he's such an unashamed crusty freak.
Yeah, he's a sex weirdo. And he literally had Elle Fanning show up to scan her, and she's fully clothed, and he told her to take her shoes off. Right. He scanned her bare feet, but the rest of her, she wasn't in a mocap suit.
What is this scan? He's like, don't worry, my tongue is how I scan these things.
Now here's I'll try to play defense for him.
You shouldn't.
He does in an interview. Someone interviewed him and asked him if he had a letterbox, and he was like, I don't know what that is. And they were like, "Oh, Martin Scorsese has a letterbox." And he was like, "Oh, well, if Martin Scorsese has it, like I need to do letterbox."
Yeah, right.
He very clearly cares about like imitating directors.
Oh yeah, he's obsessed.
So he probably just like watched a Quentin Tarantino movie and was like, "I need to have bare feet in my video game."
He watched Quentin Tarantino drink liquor from Selma Hayek's foot.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, "I want to do that on the net."
I also I said the same thing when I saw that scene.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's a sex creep. He's a sex weirdo. He's clearly a pervert.
He's a genius.
He's a genius. He's the alleged killer of Shinzo Abe. The point is that allegedly. The point is that there was a discussion of whether Metal Gear Solid 5 was game, and even I went back and forth with this, where I really struggle with that game. When I first played it, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I felt very conflicted about it because it was so challenging from the story standpoint, from the characterization, compared to other Metal Gear Solid games. So it was challenging. I want to say, in retrospect, Metal Gear Solid 5 is game. Not only is it game, it's good game. Okay? Ground Zeroes is better, in my opinion. It's a very concise experience.
Ground Zero is 4?
No, Ground Zeroes is the prequel game to 5. There are technically 2 Metal Gear Solid 5s. There's Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and then Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain.
Literally never heard of Ground Zero.
They're basically, it's like a 2-parter.
Okay.
But the Ground Zeroes is like an hour-long game, right?
Yeah, I mean,
really
if you want to, if you just dropped a new player into it, they don't give you a whole lot of information about what to do, and you got to kind of figure it out. And so you could, a new player might take 2 hours to beat the main mission, but then there's side missions which take more time.
Yeah.
But like I've beaten it in like 20 minutes pretty easily, because once you know where everything is and you just want to get the objective.
That's that if you beat it like under certain conditions, right? You see Guiji, correct?
That's Death Stranding that has Guiji.
Well, yes, but
there was
the
one
solid
time
form of him.
So there was
in
That's just the Luigi.
Oh, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. No, he's right. Hold on. No, it's not Luigi.
Oh, okay.
The solid Guiji is in a side op for Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. And so Guiji got stolen, right, by the United States government, and you have to break him out, right? And so you break him out, you kill his
Metal
captors.
Gear, he's solid.
Well, he's solid, but he's also Guiji. All right? Yeah. Here's the point, though, is that you save Guiji, you give him his glasses back. They stole his glasses. Guiji has glasses.
Were they holding Guiji in like Gitmo?
Yeah, no.
Really?
No. That's okay. I just need to fill you in. Since we're talking about Metal Gear Solid, I might as well just fill you in. So the plot of
this is the Metal Gear Solid podcast.
Yeah. Why the hell not?
No, why not?
So in Ground Zeroes, the plot is that to set this up. In our family friendly teen rated
Christian
podcast Peace Walker, right? The game Peace Walker. There's this child soldier, right? And there is this she looks kind of like a little J-pop star, right? She pretends She pretends to be a little girl. You go out on a date with her when she's in her underwear, right? You sexually harass her throughout the whole game.
Up later.
And then, this is the thing. So she turns on you, right? And you have to fight her in a mech. Canonically, Big Boss is so strong that he can grab the foot of that mech and throw it off of him, because he's basically a shonen character, because Peace Walker is the dumbest that anyone has ever played. It's so stupid. But the point is...
I'll just wave the camera right here where you're supposed to...
Right. And also, I should mention that in Peace Walker, while you are having this intense fight where a character that you've sexually harassed the whole game, and everyone is sexually harassed, honestly, dropping I know she's not actually a child, But she's dropped on a military base with a bunch of men, and honestly, you might as well have just dropped her on Molester Island, right? The point is that while she is trying to kill you, J-pop music is playing, and it is one of the most surreal experiences because you've been playing this game for 80 hours, and then J-pop music is playing while you're trying to kill a little girl.
You're playing as a serial sex offender trying to kill someone who you just found out is an adult, but you thought was a little girl when you assaulted her.
You're like,
it's an average day in Japan.
Yeah,
you're like, you betrayed me, right? Anyways, so the point is that she and the mech fall into the sea.
Mm-hmm.
She is lost at sea, but the mech is recovered. So Ground Zero starts up, and somehow she has survived the cold, harsh sea. And who has gotten her? That's right. The United States government has gotten her. Okay. And she has intel about Mother
number
Base.
one. What can I say?
And so we've got to get to her before she squeals, right? Mm-hmm. Like the little liar she is, because she tricked Big Boss into thinking she was a minor, right? Hideo Kojima wrote this.
It's
just
not
to be
normal
clear.
what people do with fake IDs, but okay.
Absolute cinema.
So the problem is that a little boy who Snake forced to be a child soldier in Peace Walker. This is a game for kids, right? He has gone off on his own to try and get this man, woman, child, right? Whatever she is. She's a spy, so she could be anything, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's Metal Gear Solid.
That is
like the line.
Yeah.
So you have to go, and I kid you not, you have to go to Gitmo to get her. And so you infiltrate Guantanamo, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously all these like Marines and stuff there. Mm-hmm. And you have to go around killing United States soldiers.
The current Florida Governor Ron DeSantis while you were there.
He's the one, he's called Skullface in the game. Yeah, he's in it. He goes by a different name. But and so you
go on.
But so you go and
please
you
explain
go to
the
Gitmo,
Luigi connection. Continue.
And and so you've got to get this girl Paz out.
Yeah.
And you also have to get the boy soldier Chico who tried to save her out. And the story is incredibly gross and screwed up, and that's part of what turned a lot of people off from the game, is that there's just a lot of really unsettling content, more than you'd like. There's some stuff in it that's like, I don't even know what other mainstream games have had it, where it's like really some gross. I can't even say it on
you said it was,
After Dark.
It takes place on Guantanamo. I thought it was going to be a real fun adventure.
Yeah, right.
Real fun, normal adventure.
Well, and that's kind of the thing is that
that's where they waterboard.
There was there was that big expose about
surfing, right? Yeah,
yeah. There was that big expose about Guantanamo Bay and all the like horrific stuff and the stuff that was going on in the Middle East.
Came out after
prison camps. Yeah, it came out after it happened.
He's a prophet.
But the point is that Hideo Kojima, reading all of that, had no sense about making really restraining himself, so he included all sorts of horrific stuff. But so you get the two of them out, and that's kind of the main thing. That's kind of the main thrust of the story. But there are side ops where you infiltrate Guantanamo in different times, right? And you do different things, and one of them is Guiji. Right. Okay, one of them is a prisoner extract, and it's Guiji, but he's solid because this is Metal Gear, right? And so you get solid Guiji out.
He got to go through the bars to be solid.
That's right. He would get out. He would get out. And so the thing is, you haven't played Death Stranding, but Guiji, he's goo in that, but Guiji is in that.
Guiji is goo in Death Stranding.
But he's solid Guiji.
He's solid Guiji in Metal Gear Solid.
He's under Sam's bed.
Yeah, he's under. So in Death Stranding, there's a moment where if you look at Sam's feet enough, his bare feet, right? Guiji comes. And and that's Death Stranding, right?
Well, I need to play this game. Where can I play this game?
Anywhere that games are sold, PC. But that's the thing is so that's Guiji, but then in Metal Gear Solid 5, he's solid Guiji. Right.
Yes.
And if you don't save him, he'll never come again, right? And so you have to get him out.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
Give him his
that
glasses back.
So that he can come.
so that 10 years or so, almost down the line, 5 years down the line, he can be underneath Sam Bridges' bed, right? It's really good. There's an Invasion of the Body Snatchers mission where the Marines, only some of them have been taken over by pod people, and you have to find out which ones they are and kill only the pod people if you want a good score, and not kill any of the others. And you play as Raiden, the cyborg ninja, and he has superpowers, and you never play as him in anything else in that game.
And he also doesn't use his sword for some reason.
No, yeah, like they try to hand him his hypersonic blade, and he's like, nah, I don't want it. I want watermelons. That's a part of it.
And this was in 5?
This is in Ground Zeroes.
Ground
yeah.
Zero. Okay.
And Raiden has traveled through time because the alien invasion, if he does not stop the body snatchers, alien invasion, they will destroy the world, right? They'll take over. Yeah. So Raiden goes back in time, and he takes a gun, and he infiltrates Guantanamo Bay, and he kills the body snatchers.
How are his hips?
They're very wide. They are not as. Here's the thing. He has this sort of lower lobar lordosis, right? Where he's kind of sticking it out. You know what I mean?
He's like got dementia.
Yeah. Well, the problem is he does walk a little bit like an old man with a full diaper. But the problem is that like. One of the things that, since this is the Metal Gear Solid podcast, one of the things that we love about Raiden is that he's trans, right? And I don't know if we've talked about this a whole lot, but Raiden, he's our king. We love Raiden. Yeah. He's wearing heels. He's got extra wide hips. He's got a thick tush, beautiful face, long, beautiful hair. I mean, he's absolutely gorgeous, right? We love Raiden. He's sort of twinkish. And he's always going like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And Snake is like, shut up, shut up,
twink.
Shut up, twink. And
he goo-goos a little bit.
He goo-goos.
The story.
He goo-goos when he needed to gaga, right?
It does happen.
It happens a lot.
Somebody Otacon's sister dies because he goo-goos when he should have gaga.
He goo-gooed when he should have gaga'd, right? Yeah, because like I always... I once said to Ethan, he found this phraseology very amusing. I said that from the Metal Gear Solid cast, Raiden is the designated diaper baby, right? He's the designated diaper baby.
I also once said to you, after watching a scene from Metal Gear Solid 2, I said, I feel like I just read the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, there you go, because it's all connected.
Yeah,
but the thing is it's like, we love Raiden.
Yeah.
But that's another one where kind of getting to the theme of this is when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, there was the discussion of whether this is game. Because that disappointed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
That you weren't playing as Snake.
You weren't playing as Snake, and you were playing as a wide-hipped, chubby-cheeked, sexy man.
The PS2 was the era of like, here's the sequel. You're not playing as the main character. You're playing as some twink.
Mm-hmm.
Because really the only two examples I can think of is Metal Gear Solid 2 and Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
If I had a nickel for every time that happened.
It would happen at least twice.
I feel, well, in
Kingdom
the
Hearts 2 is the
go to the comments right now.
Yeah.
If there is
this video is not being uploaded.
This has never seen the light of day.
Go to the comments right now, and I guarantee you will at least find me and Harrison there listing all the other times this happened in that era. Yeah, because it does kind of feel like the shadow way this started is with Donkey Kong.
Oh,
you start off with Donkey Kong, and then in the sequel,
you're like, okay, it's just a little Diddy show. Yeah, this is the Diddy show.
And we all know Diddy Kong is a twink.
And let me tell you something, Metal Gear Solid 5 is also the Diddy show, because let me tell you something, that little girl was never safe. There was never a moment the kids in that game were safe. Okay. God alive. But the point is, I feel like Metal Gear Solid is interesting because I think every single iteration except for 3, there was a question of whether it was game for the community.
I feel like, yeah, I get that. The weird thing is, it's almost not surprising, but we keep getting surprised by it, is that the games that people question whether or not, like, is this game? They wind up being the ones that people can't stop talking about later.
Oh,
and then
sure.
the one everyone
Yeah,
agrees
right.
about being like a good game, like everyone agrees 3 is a good game.
Oh, yeah.
If you've played all of them, everyone's like, yeah, it's a good game. It's just not their favorite. It just
No,
isn't
yeah,
like-
I mean, it 3 is really the normie pick in the sense that...
Because of course it's good.
Yeah, because
There's
it
no
is...
question.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's sort of like once you've played all Metal Gear Solid enough times, your third eye opens, right? And you realize that Metal Gear Solid 4 is actually good, right? You know, right?
That's the one where Solid Snake is old. Right?
Yeah. And he kisses his brother, who is actually his uncle, but is really his dad's ex-lover, right? And it's really good. The game is really good. I was talking to Cameron about Metal Gear Solid 4, and every time I would say something about it and she was horrified, I would sort of fall back on saying like, it's really good, right? Because, you know, when you're trying to like convince somebody that something that's terrible is good, right? You know, but I kept falling back on it where I would say to her, I'm like, yeah, well, like, you know, like Snake is like really old, but he's still got a high sex drive, right? And so he's still creeping on ladies, right? And then there's this moment where if this sexy lady, if you let her lay on top of you, you have a heart attack and you die. Which that's in the game, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's really good, right?
Yeah.
And there's this moment where Snake's his uncle, brother, dad's lover kisses him during a fist fight. And it's like really scary. Really.
Those are beautiful.
And then I when I told her that Snake gets microwaved, she didn't believe me. I was like explaining
You really
the
put
dynamics.
Snake in the microwave.
They put Snake in the microwave, and he gets put in the microwave, and he gets boiled.
Yeah.
Right after getting hit in the face with a grenade. He gets hit in the face with a grenade. He gets boiled, and then he goes in there to unplug the modem. Right, like this is. But anyways,
I think one of the great.
The game's
it's funny
really good.
because like you get to 4, and it has. It feels so different. Like they're just mechs just walking around the streets and stuff, and like the technology's jumped a ton.
Oh yeah,
from, like,
Kojima does a great job of showing sort of the progression of technology between 2 and 4.
Raiden's like abilities are bonkers.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's throwing Metal Gears around with like his feet.
He's
Right?
breakdancing, and killing Metal
and
Gears.
and flamenco dancing. Enemies show up and stab him many times.
Yes.
But when you get to the final fight, and it does the different themes.
Oh yeah, that's pure
And then
emotion.
at one point you get like knocked down, and you both get back up, and the health bars come back up, and it says "Naked Snake" for you.
Yeah,
and then it says
yeah.
the boss for
it starts playing the music from 3.
for
Yeah.
Liquid Ocelot, and it starts playing the bum 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 bum.
Oh,
I'm like, this is. I was watching. I was like,
genius.
this is genius.
So
This is so good, and there's very few times when like games make callbacks that feel that are that good without it being direct. Really, like, you have to sit down and like figure out why they're using the music there. It's
Yeah,
not
right.
obvious.
Yeah,
like a
right.
lot of games will call back previous editions of the game, but it's very obvious. In that one, you have to feel like, oh, this is like the legacy of these two characters has finally come back to clash into each other, right? The story of those two characters is now reached it again. And that means that some people don't get it.
Oh yeah, well that is one of the
It's just
biggest
not
problems.
obviously good. It's phenomenal if you figure it out.
One of the biggest problems with 4, and this is a problem that does not plague 3, right? Is that any schmo off the street who's never played Metal Gear Solid, like Harrison, right? Can pick up Metal Gear Solid 3, and they're like, oh, this is like a Cold War style spy thriller. It's very it's sort of more rugged James Bond. It's those kinds of things. They even make allusions to James Bond because it's a Cold War era. And anybody can pick that up, and they kind of get it. Oh, this is a Cold War style spy film, essentially. When you pick up Metal Gear Solid 4, you have to have 3 degrees in political science, philosophy, and clownery, right? Before you understand, right? You have to have been a graduate of clown college, as well as Harvard. Yep. So the it's just difficult in terms of accessibility. But once you have played all of them, 4 is the greatest continuation of Metal Gear Solid 2 that we could have asked for in terms of story, because Metal Gear Solid 2. What was terrific is that, and is horrifying, is that Kojima always predicts the future, right? Yes. He just has his finger on the pulse. And so Metal Gear Solid 2 was saying, like, hey, AI is really going to be a problem because you're not going to know what's real. The algorithm is going to be presented to you, and it's going to filter out information, and even facts are going to be artificially generated, right? And there's that, and it's like, oh well, what happens when AI companies become part of the military-industrial complex? And Kojima is sort of spinning these things out till you get to 4, and it's saying like, hey, get a lid on the stuff that happened in 2, or you're gonna have this is what it looks like, right? Mm. And with the rise of private military companies, already to some extent Kojima is made clear there.
But thankfully we've got a good lid on AI.
Yes.
We've got a good lid on AI, and
that's definitely not going to bite us in the face.
Right, and we don't have defense companies now using AI with multi-million-dollar contracts.
We've brought peace to the Middle East.
We're brought peace to the Middle East. Yeah. But so it's one of those things where it's an interesting... This is a moment of introspection for me, because of course I talk a lot about how modern games are not game. Yeah. But every Metal Gear Solid game was, to a large portion of the community, not game at one time. Yep. And I am now saying that all of them are. Or what?
Or modern.
Or modern audiences. Mm-hmm. So... everybody, you should play Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. We should play that for the channel.
That would be great.
Yeah. I'm just going to add that to the long list.
I would
of games
love that.
I keep trying. I was doing a playthrough of all the Metal Gear Solid games, and I got through 1 and 2, and then I got to 3, and I was like, "How do I play this game?" And I got 15 different answers, and they all seemed complicated, and they gave me a headache.
Yeah.
And we should play that on stream sometime.
The real trouble, they now with the Legacy Collection, that's probably the easiest way to play 3 now. But the long-standing answer, and my 4chan is showing a little bit with this, the long-standing answer when someone says, like, how do I play this old game, right? They say, you get the console, and then you plug in the game. And then if they say those two are too expensive, they call them a slur, right?
Yeah. It's a lame answer.
I already own a 3DS.
Yeah. That's the thing, though, is it's kind of like the best way to play it, right? Is you get the console, you put it in, just in the sense that you're going to have, really the most
authentic experience.
And the most straightforward. The problem is that the weird button pressure buttons that they had on the PlayStation controllers can't really do that with the emulated versions. Yeah. You can get through with the 3DS version is great, but of course it just has emulation issues.
I actually found out that some emulators work with the PlayStation 5 controllers, pressure sensitive. Buttons.
Really? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I was playing a game on an emulator the other day, and I noticed that it had a mode where when you hold the triggers down, they would be harder.
Oh, yeah.
And that it would simulate.
Yeah, I don't know anything about but yes.
Let's wrap up on this question then. Yeah. If we're getting, is Metal Gear Solid 3 the last time that a game developer put some goofy little bonus stuff in the game? How old games, they used to just like, I don't know if either of you would remember this, but have you ever played the PlayStation 1 N64 Spider-Man game?
Yeah.
You could do the what if content mode where it was just a comedy one into to the other.
Yes, yeah, right.
Right? Like if you fell into the printing presses, there was like a Spider-Man printed on all of them, and like all the villains just say like Jay Leno
Goofy,
lines constantly.
yeah,
like,
right.
I'm the true villain of our universe.
He's the true villain of our universe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Metal Gear Solid 3
It's
had
got that monkey mode.
Yeah, it had the monkey mode. It had those cutscenes. Like, do you remember what's the guy?
Secret theater.
The patient. What's the sniper? The enemy sniper in that game. The old guy.
The end.
The end.
Yeah.
There's this whole montage of videos where it's just about how the end is disappointed that Snake gets laid. He's in while Snake is getting laid, he's in the bareheaded rug on the floor, and he's like, "You disappoint me," and he tries to kill the woman because Snake is
my favorite is the CIA director. You know, this famous scene where Big Boss refuses to shake hands with the CIA director, and then the secret theater is that the CIA director is his feelings are so hurt that he stalks Snake for years. Yeah. And there's a wonderful clip from the secret theater of the CIA director and Big Boss kissing.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that it's even real.
And it's real.
Yeah.
I know games used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
It was 3. Did Kojima do it so well that everybody's just like,
I don't know. You know, the reason that he didn't do it for 4 is that 4 is the secret theater. You know what I mean? Like, Hideo Kojima had this. He had
Ocelot kisses Snake in the final battle. What do you want?
He had this moment where he was like, you know, I don't really have to hide this from the gaming public. Like, I can just make Snake do gay stuff, right? Like, I don't have to hide it. You know, like, I mean,
he oscillates between those because I feel like in 1 he's hiding it, and in 2 he's not, and in 3 he's hiding it, and 4 he's not.
Well,
and in 5 he's hiding it.
Well,
again.
this is the funny thing is that Big Boss is always hiding it, and Snake is not, and that's why Snake is the hero, right? Because you know, Snake in the first game, you have a choice between saving a hot woman or going off with your gay autistic friend, right? And the end with the gay autistic friend seems so much more intimate, right?
Yeah.
This was Hideo Kojima.
It seems more canonical too.
It feels more canonical. Well, here's the thing. This is what's so crazy, right, about this, because you know, people, if you follow the games from 1, 2, and 4, right? Mm-hmm. One would expect that if the canonical ending is that you save Meryl and you ride off into the sunset with her, right, that Snake would be with Meryl after that, right? And no, he leaves her for Otacon, right? And then, so in 2,
he makes the right choice.
In 2, yeah, he makes the right choice. He left Meryl because having intercourse with a woman can never compete with being with your autistic gay friend and fighting mechs,
and
right?
Fighting the U.S. government.
The U.S. government, right? He founds a terrorist organization with his gay twinkish scientist friend, right? And he never wants to touch a woman again, right? And then you're like, you have this moment.
I gotta get out there. I gotta get out there, guys. I gotta do some work.
Yeah, and 2 when you play 2, you kind of have this moment where you kind of see Otacon and Snake interacting, and you're like, are they gay, right? And you're like, it's really, they kind of they're coming on strong to each other, and there's like hugging and stuff, right? And like, but Snake is like a big tough guy, but he's hugging his little twink, right? And you're like, what's going on here? But then, you know, you go like, it's just a coincidence. Yeah. And then in 4, they've adopted a child.
They have a dog and they've adopted a child.
In 4,
their dog is a robot because Otacon's
in 4,
autistic,
yes, in 4, they have a robot dog and they have adopted a child.
Neither of them water the plants.
To be clear, yeah, right. To be clear, that little girl calls both of them uncle.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, that is the gay experience.
And Otacon is really sweet with the girl, and Snake is really gruff. And it's literally, I mean, it's the stereotypical gay parents, right? They're, and I mean, it's just shocking that Hideo Kojima for several games has had Snake refuse to sleep with a woman. Right. But the second Otacon is like, Snake, we have to fight the U.S. government. I mean, he tightens his belt and just starts running.
It kind of reminds me, I used to, my ex used to babysit, and one of the little girls who she babysat for had a friend who came over,
Mhm.
and the friend had two dads,
Right.
and she would explain, I have two dads, one of them's gay.
This is Snake and
I was
Otacon.
like, that's Snake and Otacon.
This is Snake and Otacon.
She would say one of
them
them's gay and the other's the dad. I always thought that was so
Well, this is the thing,
so
though.
funny.
So to answer your question, when was the last time? Probably Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
I
If
really
you
don't know
count
if they
five,
do. They.
four.
When was the last game you've played where they had like secret or otherwise sort of sectioned off content that was just to be funny?
Like they use the engine to be funny.
Yeah, I don't
by,
really
like,
know.
making
I
Yeah.
can't really
things
think of
in
any
it.
video games.
No.
Yeah.
The closest I would say is like Final Fantasy XIV has a long-standing tradition of having like a side quest that is funny.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
The
right.
thing that does make it somewhat different than other things trying to be funny is a lot of it they do use the like in-game engine as the humor tool. The way like old
Mhm.
Yeah.
like YouTube did stuff with like
Yeah.
Source Filmmaker.
You're talking about Hildebrand.
the Hildebrand
right?
stuff,
Yeah,
and it's
right.
pretty genius in how funny it is.
Yeah.
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 It's one
Okay,
of the
yeah.
like
So-
unabashedly, it's one of the like
I
10
think
out
that
of 10
I think that
things.
counts, and the reason I would say
Yeah.
that kind of stuff counts is just that with Metal Gear Solid 3, there's obviously the secret theater, but like the monkey mode is just really
Monkey's
funny,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Being able to be like you're in this otherwise serious spy thriller, and then you're trying to catch the monkeys from Ape Escape. Like
Yeah.
I've talked about, because in secret we have talked about Ape Escape on the channel, how Ape Escape is comedy gold,
Mhm.
right? You know, hearing the apes are going to be through any minute now, and then cutting to an ape with a blowtorch, like that's just really funny. An ape,
Yeah.
the apes are getting out, and then you hear a car starting up, right? Like that's comedy in its
Yeah.
purest form. I just
Yeah,
love
it's great.
those games. Having Metal Gear Solid have a crossover with it,
Mhm.
that's not a secret theater. It's a main part of the game. Like you can
Yeah.
play that, but I think that counts as extra content that exists only to make you laugh.
Yeah.
So I think that the Final Fantasy 14 missions, they're keeping it alive. They're keeping it alive.
They were kind of
Yeah.
Um,
the
the
Branda
tradition.
Hild stuff was funny.
Yeah.
I actually haven't done any of the new
The new
Hildebrand
one.
and
Yeah.
On Trail.
I'm
I'm saving it for
Yeah.
later.
All right. Well, we've
great.
got to
Yeah.
wrap up.
We
the
did
podcast.
a podcast
Oh my God.
without the podcasters.
Was it good?
Nope.
No.
Nope. It was a real mess. It was a real
We
mess.
took it back to where it belonged.
We took it back to where it belonged. Here's the thing: we're
In a grave.
in what did I call this place? Not the morgue. I called
Crematorium.
it the crematorium. This is really the inaugural crematorium episode
Yeah, it really
because
is.
it's so horrible, and
Yeah,
Harrison's
exactly.
gonna have to edit out most of it. And
Yeah.
honestly, this is only gonna survive in clips.
Yeah.
Harrison is going to cut together like a criminal writing letters
Yeah.
out of the newspaper clippings. It's going to be words to make a different podcast.
Yeah,
It'll be a 15-second clip of us saying "Welcome to the podcast" and then "Goodbye, everybody."
Yeah.
Goodbye.
But
Technical
each part of
difficulties.
it, welcome to
Yeah.
the podcast. All of those are from like
Different
minute
sections.
1, minute 8, minute 10.
Well,
Yeah.
if you watched this podcast and you're a human person or even just an AI robot, please subscribe to our channel and also our Patreon. If by the time this sees the light of day, we have a Patreon.
Or maybe you're on Patreon.
Also-
and you're watching it.
Also, I should mention, I was told to mention this. Hold on. Sorry, just one second. Just 1 second.
Okay.
We have a podcast account on TikTok. I was supposed to advertise this.
Oh, yeah.
We have a TikTok, and it's at power.up.bros.pod, Pod. And please check it out. We are working very hard to upload
Yes.
TikToks. So far, it is literally just me and Ty on that account.
Yes.
However,
But it is extremely funny.
it's very funny, and I hope that anyone watching this will join. I'm going to keep plugging
Check out
it
our
later.
gameplay videos that have been going up. The shorts for them are hilarious. The gameplay videos themselves are extremely entertaining. They're quite fun. They pop up as I'm scrolling, and they're so good. I don't recognize that they're made by our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look forward to the inaugural episode of me being on there and not knowing how to play Mario Kart.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you
Goodbye.
later. It's a little quieter.